Welcome to Rico 12. I'm Justin B., your host and a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and an addict living in recovery, in the miracle of recovery one day at a time. Rico 12 is an open to all addictions and afflictions organization dedicated to exploring the common threads of addiction, sharing tools, and offering hope from those walking a similar path. We gather from diverse backgrounds, faiths, and locations to learn and support one another. Our speakers come from various fellowships and experiences, demonstrating the universal principles of recovery. Rico 12 is not allied or affiliated with any specific 12-step fellowship. This is Rico 12 Speaker Meeting 334. Thank you for joining us live or on the recording later. Today's speaker is Anna B., a first-time Rico 12 speaker discussing using humor in recovery, and I look forward to hearing her message shortly. But first, for a few quick announcements. Rico 12 offers a variety of recovery resources, including podcasts and social media communities. To explore more, you can go visit rico12.com. That's www.reco12.com and check the chat and the show notes for links to that. Rico 12 is self-supporting, and your contributions help us keep this mission going. Thank you to all our Spearhead donors, past and present, especially Abigail, Sean, and Rajiv this week. Your support truly makes a difference. If you'd like to contribute, visit rico12.com/support. Check the links that I'll put in the chat of the live meeting or in the show notes of the podcast for one-time or monthly donation options. Every bit of support, financial or through word of mouth, helps us share these messages of recovery. Each week, we receive light and inspiration from our speakers. Their experience brings hope, meaning, worth, and growth to us as listeners. Now, let's welcome today's guest speaker, Anna B., and learn just a little bit more about her in her own words. This is what she says here. I used to be sneaky, but now I'm just crafty. I'm obsessed with the number 5, the color purple, and strict routines. I have much gratitude for refrigeration, indoor plumbing, and modern medicine. Trivia podcasts, jigsaw puzzles, bananagrams, and library books are my favorite distractions. Dislikes include all things politics, computers, tags on clothing, and places with no shade. For laughs, I play with other people's infants and toddlers, and she lives in Amherst, Massachusetts. Anna, we're excited to hear about using humor in recovery. Take it away. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. I'm super nervous about this. Less nervous than I thought I would be because, like I told Justin before, even if I tank, I haven't failed. So I have some notes because I know I was going to be nervous and I didn't want to totally blank out on you. I like how I started. Welcome, fellow sufferers. I'm Anna B., and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 9/10/16. I also have a long-standing eating disorder. Here's a list of things so you can get to know me a little bit better before I start the story. I'm an introverted extrovert called an omnivert. When I get nervous, I touch my face. I can do a lot of things, but none of them well. That means I went to camp so I can swim, sail, canoe, ride a horse, shoot a gun. I enjoy some sports and know enough of the rules to understand what is happening. Some other things you should know about me is how deeply ingrained the number 5 is. It's enough that I put it on the back of my book. When I see the number in public, I do this little math trick in my head to see if it's a good number or not. Wow, I'm really nervous. I don't believe in God as such. I'm an atheist, so I think that the reason I do is because all religion was man-made, and so we made it all up ourselves. I'm thinking, but I believe in beings that are about 1 million generations ahead of us could probably do things that if they came, then we would consider them a god. I don't own any makeup, and in my shower is 1 bottle of shampoo, 1 bottle of conditioner, and a bar of soap, all of which I bought at the dollar store. I went to, a while ago, I went to a department store to figure out how to do my wedding makeup, and the woman said, well, what kind of makeup do you have? And I said, well, I don't have any, and she said, well, then I can't help you, and walked away. Oh God. I went to, okay. Finally, my love for the color purple. 80% of my stuff with clothes, there has to be a solid purple article of clothing touching my skin, either on top or bottom. And I wear so much purple that my daughter thought that all dryer lint was purple. I was born in 1972, which makes me the bizarre age of 53. We were only in Michigan for a while when my mom had me because my dad was in the reserves and we were staying at my grandma's house. I have an older brother and a younger sister, and we moved to Ohio in a town called Fostoria. Our house was right by the city park where I got flung off the merry-go-round and had some dad have to carry me home. This was back when free-range children existed. Then it was off to Valley City for first grade and my first fear. I had to be the first one done with my work, and I would bring my paper up to the teacher, and she would say, "You don't have to rush." And I think in my head, well, yes, I do. I don't know why, but I do. So then it was back to Fostoria for 5 years. My next experience with anxiety was when I was getting picked up from the lesson at the Y from swimming lessons. I wanted my mom to be there. And when she wasn't, I would call in a panic, wondering if she had forgotten me or not. And I'm standing outside waiting for her, and my hair is frozen now. It was in Ohio, and so you can break the ends of your hair off. So I didn't know that would happen. So my mom probably thought me calling her was telling her I was ready to come pick up, and that you should come pick me up. Of course, as a child, I'm obsessed with candy. There was a Lane's drugstore that I used to go to with my allowance. I got my first resentment against the state of Ohio for their 8% tax on candy. The candy was 25 cents, so I should get 4, right? I also started learning that nobody was paying attention to me, so I put the 4th candy in my pocket, and then I went to the cashier and bought the other 3. I hid one of those candy bars in a pile of roof tiles outside my house, and so I developed my second resentment, which was against ants. I was so mad. And also that was the house that we lived in when I tried to teach my sister how to smoke cigarettes. We were very young, probably 5th grade and 2nd grade. And my mom was somewhere and my dad wasn't home. But he came back really quicker than I thought he would. And so I was able to put my cigarette out before he came in the door. And my sister held it behind her back, and you could see the smoke wafting up from behind her. And the only thing my dad said was, "You have to tell your mother." But I never did. I'm really sensitive to some smells. And when I was growing up, my doctor sold vitamins, which is really bad for me. And he needed a urine sample. So I went home and I put some pee in a baby jar, put the baby jar in a paper bag, and put it over my under my hand over my handlebar, and started pedaling off to the doctor. And baby food jars, which a lot of you don't know, because you have plastic ones now, the lid wouldn't always go on right. And so the leaking broke the paper bag that the jar was in, and it smashed right in front of my church, like the church that I go to, next to the school that I go to. And I just said, screw it, and pedaled home. And nobody said anything. Next, we moved to Sandy Hook, Connecticut. Unfortunately, yes, that's Sandy Hook. I made friends pretty quickly, but it always felt like I was on the outside looking in. Maybe someone can explain this to me. This was a weird experience that I had. I had just moved to Connecticut, and I was in 6th grade, and I had to go to the bathroom, and they had little wooden tiles, hall passes that I had never seen before, so I was really excited. And so when I came back to the classroom, everybody clapped. I don't know if it was everybody. It sure sounded like everybody. And so why? Who started it? They passed it around and everybody thought it was a great idea, because clapping's good, right? So I'm confused as to why this happened. So this is about the time I really fell in love with TV shows where somebody got hurt or lost, and they hurt or lost. But if it was a soap opera, it'd be kidnapped with amnesia by an evil twin. People show concern for the people who are hurt on TV, and you get to hear what is being said out in the hallway in the hospital. then they were fine the next episode. This started a long-standing belief that people who are sick deserve attention from their families and friends. In fifth grade, I remember standing in front of my bookshelf while we still lived in Ohio, and I had decided that I needed a bad habit. So I started cracking my knuckles so I could feel something, because that's how numb I was, even back then. In high school, I got the abusive boyfriend out of the way first. Check that off the list. The night that my parents were finally fed up, we were having an argument, and as it was happening, my friends drove by in a car and their horn was stuck on. And so they pulled into the driveway. And so when they knocked on the door, they saw that I was crying on the floor. And so then my dad helped to fix the horn, and they called the police. So the police came, and we met Officer Stormer, and he saw that I was okay, but said you should come down to the station tomorrow morning and fill out an incident report. So let's see, what next? I'm glad I made notes. As embarrassing it is to sit here and look at them, I'm still glad. So out of that out of that abusive boyfriend, I did pick up some bad habits, and my dad called those the dark years. Here are some things that happened in high school in no particular order, sort of like a highlight reel. And at age 14 was a banner year. I started drinking, smoking, eating funny, and self-harming. I would bring weed to school and smoke it by myself in the bathroom. I must have reeked when I went back to class, but of course nobody said anything. I started binging at night, eating things in a certain order, in a certain way, with rules that I created. And I used to throw the candy wrappers behind my headboard. And my mom came in and saw them and didn't freak out because there were so many of them, but that it was a fire hazard. Soon after that, I was able to stop because I had drugs and alcohol to do the same thing that food was doing. I spent a lot of time in high school crying in the guidance office because of the said boyfriend. And it's why I don't wear makeup from that long ago. Around 15, I got my first psychologist, and he diagnosed me with histrionic personality disorder, which doesn't really exist as such anymore. It's in the DSM-5 under another section. Then he didn't know what to do with me, so I got to Xerox my face. I don't know how long I saw him. I don't know. Anyway, I went to Russia in 1988 with a chorus, and I sat in the back of the plane with my friends because that's where the smoking section was. I asked my choral instructor how many bottles of vodka I could bring home, and he said 1. So 1. I also had a Russian flag pinned under the lining of my coat, and the pin set off security, but they used the wand and they felt my back, so they felt that nothing was there, so they let me go. At this time, I dated a handful of guys from my extended group my extended friend group who lived in the town next door. I was being needy and clingy because I was a teenage girl, and I thought that if somebody wanted to sleep with me, it meant they loved me. I was looking for assurance, and it pushed all the boys away. It was a little much. I thought if they loved me, they would want to sleep with me. So I'm still surprised that none of them took advantage of this. I was basically throwing myself at them. And how come they don't want to sleep with me? The confusion made me a lot more clingy, of course. And so that's why none of the relationships lasted very long. I'd be much calmer now. So we'll go on to college. I continued my affinity for drugs and alcohol, and I had done a Ouija board to ask what my roommate's name would be when I got there. But when I got there, I didn't have a roommate. So I got a double, but all by myself. But Ruth was the person we bought our first house from, which is kind of freaky. And the girl next door to me was Heidi, and we did a lot of crazy things. As many of us know, we stole her roommate's Jeep, and we drove to pick her boyfriend up from drug court. And we worried we weren't going to have a parking spot on the way home because it was a parking lot that filled up pretty easily. And we put a cone in a spot, but nobody cared. But there was a spot. And so we thought we got away with it until we found out that her parents keep track of the mileage. My parents used to keep track of the mileage, but in a different way. If I wanted to borrow the car, I had to put 10 cents a mile in a bucket. And that way, if something happened, I would give my parents the money that I had accrued, and they would fix whatever it was. And if you didn't have the money, you didn't get to drive the car anymore. So when my car got totaled, I had $800 worth of 10 cent. I was so proud of myself. I really wanted to borrow the car. Once Heidi and I bought an Eldorado for $1. We had such plans for old Ellie. We were so excited. We were going to drive to concerts, and we were going to drive to the beach, and we were going to drive everywhere. We had a super long pipe and a bag of weed. That's all we needed. We were driving through campus, dreaming of where we would go when we got pulled over. Of course, there was no registration, and the license plate was from some guy in Florida. The cops were laughing at our beloved car that we had now owned for about 2 hours. They said it had "pull me" written all over the side of the car. Pull me over. And so what ended up happening is they just said, walk away. So we walked away. And that was the last time we ever saw old Ellie. We didn't get any trouble. During my sophomore and junior years, I did date a guy who I think saved my life. And he did that by taking me away from the college, from the parties. I know that alcohol and weed would probably not work for very much longer in a way that I wanted. So for those 2 years, I wasn't going to parties. I wasn't exposed to those kind of drugs like the pills. I was never a pill person. And I did every drug that anybody ever handed me. So I was really lucky that nobody handed me either heroin or ecstasy, which is a good thing. I can only imagine with pills, too, it would have been a colossal disaster.
Got questions about addiction, recovery, or just life in general? Let's noodle it out together. Grab your big book, a pen, a highlighter, and a notepad, and join Nikki M. and me, Justin B., on Rico 12 Noodle It Out with Nikki M. Each episode, we take real-life questions, ours, yours, and those from the recovery community, and dig deep into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous to find real, practical solutions. So, if you're ready to do the work and apply the solution, tune in to Noodle It Out with Nikki M., streaming now on your favorite podcast platform.
I wouldn't be hard to find something stronger. So he was a really smart guy, and I don't really remember why we broke up, but he was really smart. 1 month before I graduated college, which is an absolute miracle because my grades were never good, probably because I didn't go to class, I met my future husband. I told him I wasn't looking for somebody to fool around with, and he said, very good, very good, very good. Instant boyfriend. He had some of the same friends as I did because we were in the same, Heidi was in his department. So that's how they knew each other. And he first saw me playing lacrosse, practicing lacrosse in the same field that he was practicing ultimate. He was 1 year behind me. And so I went to graduate school in Boston while he stayed at UConn and finished up. I finally did finish my project for my final project in grad school. Was impossible. I had no idea how I was going to do it. And so I called my mom, and she yelled at me. My mom, she's not much of a yeller. She yelled at me long and hard enough that I finished the project. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's come in handy lately if I want to get a job as a teacher, I'm certified, because they accepted my college years at my practicum. So that's really good. We got married in 1997 and moved to Corvallis, Oregon, so he could go to grad school. And we drove there in an 83 air-cooled Volkswagen bus. It was a camper that we got for our wedding, for a wedding present, and her name was Twinkie. And we drove out to Oregon, and I loved it there. It was beautiful, but it's too far away. I'm a East Coaster, a New Englander. Our first daughter was born out in Oregon in 99, and our second daughter was born in 2002. By the time, here's why two conflict-averse people shouldn't marry. We didn't talk about a lot of things and forget the hard stuff. He would say, I want to go to grad school in Oregon, and I would say, we're moving. He would say he wants to buy a Prius, and I'd say, you do that. We agreed on the big things, and we got along great. He was a really easygoing guy. But well, it's hard to not be an addict and then be the partner of an addict. By the time we got to Amherst, I was escalating my drinking along with my eating disorder. We never had a conversation about my eating disorder or my drinking. The conversations we did have about my drinking were when I was really drunk, trying to deny that I was drunk. It'd be one of those times I get carted off to the hospital. We certainly never sat the girls down and talked about either of those things. A couple of times they would come home from school, and I had just, sometimes they would come home from school and I would be gone for a month. When I got home, my ex would say, Mommy's home, and everybody would say, yay, and pretend I never left. I started drinking about around that time at 3 p.m., which is right before the girls got home, which is kind of, you never know why you drink when you're an alcoholic. I found out later that the girls had a game on the way home from school. They would play as Mommy on the computer or the couch, which is pretty funny. My ex would come home and immediately, this was when I started listening to all Coldplay. And as soon as my husband would come home, we would have to change the music, but it was usually to a Dead show. So I wasn't going to complain about that. He wanted me to go away and come back fixed. And it doesn't sound very helpful, but he genuinely didn't know how to help me. He's not an addict. He wasn't raised by an addict. He was waiting for the fixed part. He was telling me while I was recovering, he would hold down the fort for me. He would, take care of the girls, and I shouldn't worry about any of that stuff, and focus on getting better. He went to an Al-Anon meeting one time, and about halfway through, he said, when are we going to get to talk about her? So that was his one and only Al-Anon meeting. In 2010, I threw myself an intervention and admitted my drinking was out of control and I needed help. What I was really doing was trying to lower my tolerance. And I was back drinking the next day when I got home. Beer and wine were okay at the time, but don't hide it. My husband didn't understand. So the beer went in the fridge and the vodka went in the closet. This all came to a head on December 12th, 2012. And if I had gotten sober that day, my sobriety date would be 12/12/12, which I thought that was really cool. But what really happened for the next 3.5 years, I was in and out of hospitals, rehabs, residential eating places, 12 times total. During that time, I did the worst thing that I ever did. Luckily, it turned out okay. I was taking my 11-year-old daughter down to New York City for Christmas. It was Christmas Day. And we got on the train and I forgot my headphones. So I had to go to the car where they have the headphones, and buy vodka. And when we were in New Haven, Connecticut, I stepped off the train to smoke a cigarette and fell. And so all of a sudden I'm surrounded by people and cops. And I'm screaming, I got to get back on the bus, the train. I don't know when it's leaving. And they were trying to calm me down. And finally, two of them got on the train with me. And when I was trying to find Sarah, I went the wrong way on the train. So we walked all the way that way. I had to turn around, walk past the people. And the one officer asked my daughter if I was her mom, and then a bunch of other questions. And they must have liked the answers because they left. And the next thing I remember, I'm walking down the street in New York City with my parents, and they're pissed. So I got us off the train in the train station in New York City, found my parents in a blackout. Also, throughout this time, I'm still trying to get reassurances that I'm okay and that people love me and will care for me. Hiding my drinking just made for a lot more anxiety. Why was nobody saying anything? This is about when I developed the fear that people don't even think about me if I'm not in the room. Everybody, my family and friends, everybody. And that's why nobody's saying anything. I lived with that untruth for many years, yes, years, even after I got sober. When I finally came and looked at that belief, I wondered how I could believe it so strongly. So every night, my ex was cooking dinner for my girls, and they weren't thinking about me. Thinking about, yes. Talking about, I don't know. I didn't want them to worry. The thought that I was hurting them was just too much. At all this time, I'm still suffering from the crippling anxiety, and still do sometimes. I know something bad is going to happen because they will eventually. You can't tell me what or when. And unfortunately, this is a hard fear to overcome because it's true. Bad things do happen to people. I don't want to participate in that game. When we wake up in the morning, we don't think today is going to be the day for a shocking situation. Remember I said that I loved the TV shows and the medical emergencies and someone getting rescued and dramatic tension between the lead actors and actresses. Will they, won't they? So they're getting the attention that I want. Mind you, I've been hospitalized a dozen times, but it was never for anything medical. I was being monitored in case something did go wrong. But this convinces me that I'm still not sick enough. And I don't deserve the love and care that the TV characters are getting. Here's the thing. It's ridiculous. Me feeling not sick enough either is a symptom of the anorexia. I have the binge purge type, so I have the best of both worlds. My eating disorder tells me that what I'm doing isn't dangerous because look, good labs, look, you're not sick. And you weigh too much. I'm getting really tired of waiting though. What is it? Why is my life-changing event taking so long? So I can get it over with. I realized that not long ago, sadly, that people don't want to be sick. They don't want to go to the hospital. But the strangest part of all is that being sick hurts. Now, how could I not know that? It tells me that I've been numb and detached. And for a really long time, remember knuckle cracking? I've been doing EMDR with my therapist, and we are slowly working through my past traumas. Yes, it is bizarre and kind of kooky, but it works. Until a couple years ago, I would get this dreaded feeling every fall, like it was like impending doom, something was going to happen. And what happened is a lot of my traumas happened in the fall. So the fall would come, and I would get super anxious. And I thought it was something that was going to happen in the future. But what we found out was that it's PTSD. It's a kind of PTSD that, and that's all. It's from the past. It happened in the past. It doesn't mean anything's going to happen in the future. It just means that is what happened in the past. You can get escorted out of an AA meeting. I was drunk and I had slammed my hand down on the table and said, "I'm sober." Everyone said, "Come back." And I have ever since. You never know when your life is going to change. Remember the train incident is what we call it now. I started going to meetings in Florence after that happened. And I met who is my partner now. I cannot express how much this man loves me all of the time. He's a problem solver. He accepts me for who I am, and he loves me unconditionally. And he meets me where I am and gives all that attention that I've been wanting my whole life to me now. So now I practice my program with gratitude. I wrote a little spiel about humor in recovery. So here we go. We all know humor can positively affect our well-being. It improves communication and trust. It can be used with those with anxiety disorders to cancer patients and everyone in between. I think we're a great population that can show how laughter helps us go through some of our worst experiences and stay sober. It makes us feel that we are among friends. We hear other people telling our stories. Humor also helps our learning the simple yet difficult recovery principles that we need to remain abstinent. When I first started going to meetings, I thought everybody was lying. They couldn't be sober for that long. And it was because I was lying. And I also couldn't understand what was so funny. Yet, I realized quickly, though, that our addictions create common knowledge, lingo, puns, and inside jokes. At the end, at least for me, I did need to take a little break until it got funny. I did contact my ex and his mom to tell them that I was writing this book because I knew that they wouldn't think it was funny. And my ex-mother-in-law said that she bought a book but didn't read it, which I think is really cool. We find humor in stressful situations, and we can replace our negative attitudes and realize we are surrounded by people. Did I already read that? Woo-hoo. Finding humor in stressful situations can replace our negative attitude and realize we are surrounded by people who have done what we've done, who are over the what the hell just happened hump of the first days of sobriety. Positive reframing through laughter allows us the space to learn healthier ways of living. And nobody likes to be told what to do. Besides, if we don't laugh, we're going to cry, which is also appreciated. Pretty much all of us use drugs to cope with stress. That's one of the main reasons, I think. Changes are better received through humor rather than rules, warnings, and scare tactics. Finding new humorous perspectives and situations will help us feel better about ourselves and expand our recovery. Then we can handle situations and live life without use of substances. We learn to use our words. Just like a lot of things, humor can be used for evil. And I didn't realize that both sarcasm and snarkiness could be used to take stabs at people. I had used them for good. We were in on the joke together. But I don't like when people take shots on other people. Even if it goes over the other person's head, we still know that we were laughing at their expense. And the person that they're pranking or whatever will probably laugh along out of embarrassment. That happens a lot on TV. There are kinds of humor out there, from funny bathroom jokes to subtle puns, and I started writing limericks from a writing prompt at an eating disorder treatment meeting about the pros and cons of eating disorders. Here are my first two limericks. This one's con. There once was a problem named Ed who did tell me what to do when. It's hard to go out. It does make me pout. So tired, I'm going to bed. And actually, it doesn't really work because when and Ed don't rhyme, but that's how I wrote it. And here's the pro one. My ED, it's solving my blues. I do think it's helped me, I'll start again. My ED is solving my blues. I do think it helps me, it's true. Ed makes me feel better. Should write him a letter and thank him for helping me through. So that was the first time I ever wrote limericks. And then in the next couple months after I got out of the treatment center, I wrote about 700 of them. Now, a couple of years later, writing one a day, I have like 1,000, 1,200, but there's so many that they're hard to organize in a way that's helpful. They're handwritten. But at the end of the day, I just have to say that at least I think my limericks are funny. And I hope you do too, because here's the 12 steps of AA in limerick. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless, that our lives have become unmanageable. A problem we must now admit, a cry from a bottomless pit. Our lives were just sad. It was driving us mad. To sobriety, we need to commit. And step 2, came to believe. We searched to find our higher power. For some, the idea, it tastes sour. We were real insane. It caused us much pain. We need release from our self-imposed tower. We made a decision to turn our will over. We must turn over our will and our life. We stand on the edge of a knife. Our own definition starts us on our mission. It will help us stop alcohol's strife. Step 4, made a searching and fearless inventory. We must now look inside of us. Join me and get on the bus. We all had to try to figure out why. Deep self-learning will end up a plus. Step 5, admitting to God, to ourselves, and another human being our wrongs. A sponsor we're going to need. Their advice we are going to heed. With them and HP, we all soon will see from bad patterns we can now be freed. HP is higher power. Step 6, entirely ready to move those great character defects. Our faults we must now be removed. Our defects ingrained, deeply grooved. Must ask every day if sober we'll stay. If not, we remain unimproved. Shortcomings, humbly shortcomings. Now is a chance to be humble. At first, a lot of us grumble. We ask our HP about how we should be. Humility prevents a big stumble. Step 8, this is the list and readiness. We all know that we have done harm. We thought we did have lots of charm. We just make a list. Our sponsors assist. Be thorough, but don't bet the farm. Step 9, amends. Oh boy, now we make some amends. The start of our misery's end. Don't cause further trouble, or your amends double. We can start with our family and friends. 10, continually take personal inventory. It helps if at night we do pray, critique our day in every way. To avoid a big pit. When wrong, admit it. We do this so sober we'll stay. Here's the one about prayer and meditation. We all need meditation and prayer. You don't need to sit in a chair. With conscious contact, HP has our back. Those who do, it helps them, they swear. And finally, the spiritual awakening and the going out and helping other people. We now go out and spread the word. Recovery in others be stirred. We are now awake from changes we make. By alcohol, we're no longer blurred. I want to thank everybody for listening to me and being tolerant of my reading. And I really appreciate it because that was really good. I had fun.
Yeah, Anna, that was fantastic and hilarious. I was laughing and I got several comments about how funny this was and enjoying that. As we get into the Q&A section here, if anybody has a question for Anna, please type it in the chat. If you want to remain anonymous, either direct message it to me or in the top line, just say anonymous, please, and I won't read your first name. If not, I'll just read your first name. But I really appreciate this. And I'm going to start off with a question that I have for you. You know, you talked about when you came into the meetings and people would say they were sober for this long. You're like, man, they have to be lying. There's no way they can stay sober that long. But it was because I was lying myself. Talk to us just a little bit more about that realization of when you came to realize, oh, I'm a liar here and they aren't. Hey, Spearheads, if you're looking to dive deeper into the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with people who live the solution, then you won't want to miss RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable. Join David G., Nikki M., and me, the moderator Justin B., 3 recovered addicts from multiple fellowships, as we break down the big book line by line. In each 30-minute episode, we share our experience, strength, and hope in a real, raw, and practical roundtable discussion. So, if you are ready to learn and apply what you learn, tune in to RICO 12 Big Book Roundtable on your favorite podcast platform.
Well, I lied a lot because I had to. And you don't think about how it's going to affect other people. And so I don't know. That's a good question. I'm going to have to think about that some more.
Yeah, no worries. All right, so let's go to one of our live audience here. Person says, "What a great share. I'm wondering if Anna knows if there was something beyond her spiritual malady that made addictive substances / behaviors so attractive. Was it biology, trauma that made you more vulnerable? Just curious. She wants to know why you think that is."
I think it's I like the biology answer. I'm going to stop and be honest right now. I'm having a hard time remembering what you're asking me, and I want to write it down because otherwise it's just going to get ugly. So that's why I'm looking down at my paper while you're talking.
Yeah, no worries.
Or while I'm talking. So I have to admit that I didn't do very well with the first two questions. So if we could try starting this question and answer session over, like we can.
Yeah, no, I'll and you're doing great. You're doing great, Anna. You're doing great. So let me re-ask that first question. You said biology is the where you're leaning to, but the question was, is there something beyond the spiritual malady that made addictive substances or behaviors so attractive? And the things that were listed there was biology or trauma. So what are your thoughts on that?
Can you say it one more time?
Yep,
just one
absolutely.
Time, we can listen to questions more than once.
Yep. If there was something, do you know if there was something beyond your spiritual malady that made addictive substances and behavior so attractive?
No, I don't think so. The ways that I needed to help myself, I was wondering this whole time what these questions were going to be like. So beyond my spiritual malady, I have a really hard time with the spiritual part, and my own higher power has taken a long time to evolve. So when I started, it was just not me. That was the name of my higher power, not me. And so it's hard to think of something that's beyond that. I don't know. I don't know if it's a spiritual malady at all.
No, you're. Yeah, don't. You're doing great. You're doing great, Anna. Don't worry about it. Thank you for sharing your experience with that. Next question comes from our live audience also. And this
Can you read it slowly?
Yeah. And what she did is she quoted one of your limericks that you wrote here, and she has a question beyond that. So Anna wrote, "My ED is solving my blues. I do think it helps me. It's true." And then the question is, in your experience, Anna, do you think there are underlying physical conditions that make some people more vulnerable to eating disorders?
I think anybody who's going to be an addict is prepped to be an addict, and we just don't know what kind. What kind of fear of physical condition.
No, you're doing great. Yeah, you're doing great. So, Anna, I want to share an experience that I had last night. That you talked about how humor, we need to laugh or else we'll cry. So, I mentioned earlier, I think before we started recording, that I'm in a different place than I typically am. I'm in Utah today. I typically am in Washington. And my wife and I traveled here for a conference that we're going to be attending and presenting at tomorrow. But what happened is we flew in late last night into the Salt Lake airport, and we're walking to the rental car place to get our rental car. And as we get there, my wife's looking at her phone trying to find the email confirmation for it. And we realized, well, we started making assumptions that we didn't actually rent a car. But she had a distinct memory. Hey, I did this. So we were going down, I think 5 or 6 counters of different car rental places saying, "Hey, I think I rented a car from you, but I don't know, you know. And all of them were like, nope, nope. And she's laughing this whole time. And here I am being kind of grumpy and like, "Ugh, I can't believe we're doing this. You know, let's just get this over with." But I loved her response to that. And I love how you're saying, hey, we got to find humor in these stressful situations. So talk to me about my experience yesterday and how you can find humor in that and maybe bring me additional relief because I'm still kind of thrown by it emotionally.
Yeah. You got a car in the end, didn't you? So you were
Yes,
successful.
we did. We did.
And the laughing part about it is, if you, like you said, if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. And I think this also kind of goes along with, say your partner is in a bad mood or whatever, and instead of them taking it out on, instead of taking it out on himself, would take it out. Oh, good Lord.
You're
Ain't this
doing,
Grant?
no, you're doing
Um,
good. Yeah, so I'm in a bad mood and I'm taking it out.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Don't take it out on the other person. You could be a couple against the car place as opposed to a couple against each other because somebody messed up. So that's what I think. Something happened like that to one of my sponsees. She was in a halfway house, and there's a path that she could walk around behind the building, and the woman behind her had headphones on and was listening to music, and laughed. And the woman in front of her turned around and basically said, "What are you laughing at?" And because the girl with the headphones gets triggered really easy. I mean, she's in a halfway house. All she had to do was point at her ear and laugh. And instead, she argued with the woman. It just seems like there are some things that are so simple that will happen after recovery, that we'll know that happened, and then we'll be able to make a better decision about whether that was good or not.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you for pointing that out because I mean, as I'm following her from desk to desk, I'm just like, I'm what I'm saying. I'm not like taking it out on her or anything. But when I said, and when I just said, hey, let's just get a car here at this desk and get this done. I'm just along for the ride. She goes, oh, you're getting annoyed. Anytime you say you're just along for the ride, that means you're getting angry and everything. And she pointed that out, and I was, yes, I was a little bit annoyed, but I thought I was giving that resentment, that fear over to God, but turns out I was
Yeah.
still wearing it on my sleeve. So, yeah. All right, another question from Cheryl from our live audience. Cheryl says, "Hi Anna, did you always see humor in things throughout your entire life?" Hey, Rico 12 Spearheads. If our recovery resources have helped you, please consider a donation. Your financial support, as well as your word of mouth support, keeps Rico 12 running and reaching the man who is still sick. Donate today at rico12.com/support or check the show notes for PayPal and Venmo links. Every contribution helps carry the message. Thanks for being a Rico 12 Spearhead.
Um, not as much. No, not as much as I do now. It's one of those things. It's in retrospect because hindsight is 2020, and so while you're going through things, especially when you're drinking and you're so tightly wound, a lot of things aren't funny, and you hear a lot in the rooms when people finally come to from being drunk. We're like, oh, there are leaves on the tree. Oh, there's a bird chirping, because you're just so in your little cocoon that nothing is funny. We're miserable. We want to be left alone. At least I do. And it's nice, like the train incident. It could have been that was never going to be funny. And so I'm really appreciative of the fact that that was an if. I have a lot of anxiety now about not making a mistake, but completely screwing up in a big way. I thought that's what I'm afraid of. So I don't know if I always thought things were funny. I wonder, well, when you're first trying to build your personality, you don't know who you're going to be. So you look around at the people around you and you do what they do because you don't want to stick out. So then you're finding what they think is funny, which isn't necessarily what you were going to think is funny. So it's also true that different people think different things are funny. Because some things people think are funny are really not funny. But I think humor is a better place to live because it may want you to sit down on the couch, but you're going to watch a comedy. You're not going to put on your saddest songs ever. So it's a better place to dwell.
Yeah, I like that. And you just said something, not all humor is funny. And earlier in your share, you said that there's a difference between humor and sarcasm or snarkiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I typically find that my type of humor seems to be a little bit biting, a little bit sarcastic. So how did you make that transition, or how did you realize that and start transitioning from snarkiness? Because you used to be sneaky, but now you're just crafty. So maybe there's some snarkiness that moved into more humor. How did that happen?
Too bad this isn't an art show because I have some art that I've made out of funny sayings that I think are funny. I guess I learned when I got sober, I learned exactly how oblivious I was at the time. And so I think my snarkiness was kind of a way to keep people away, but not push them away. I do like my humor biting too. I don't know how old you are, but you could remember grosser than gross jokes, or garbage pail kids, or things that are funny like that. But I don't like it when it's laughed at another's expense. I think that's really it's hard
Yeah.
for people to do that or hear
Yeah.
that.
And I appreciate that awakening. You said, "Hey, I had that awakening when I started getting sober that it was the snarkiness or the sarcasm was me trying to keep people away without being absolutely rude and pushing them away right off the bat." And that's helpful to me. Michael says, "You're absolutely hilarious. Thanks for bringing joy to my day." And earlier on, he said something about stand up. You doing stand up? Have you ever done stand up? Is that something that you would like to try at some point? I think that'd be kind of fun. No? Okay.
I read the 12 steps at an open mic one
Uh-huh.
time, and I got some laughs, so that was good. I think I'm going to be more of the hilarious writer.
There you go.
And as I'm typifying here, I have a hard time answering questions off the cuff, and so then my brain goes and then I forget the question. So no, I don't know if I could do a stand up. I'd have to be up there with my paper reading it off.
Yeah. So
But
so Annie, oh, go ahead.
I do see myself though sitting outside at a table at a conference or a convention, giving away free recovery limericks to everybody who walks by.
I love that. Can you write a limerick like impromptu on something?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I gave you a topic or something, could you write me another limerick impromptu? So I'm presenting tomorrow on step 2, and you do have this step 2 limerick that you read to us. But is there another step 2 thought? Coming to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Maybe a quick limerick you could write for me now that maybe I can lead my share with.
Okay.
And I'm putting you on the spot, but we'll see where that goes. This is exciting. I love it.
Are you timing me?
Nope, I'm not timing you, but
Okay. We came to believe in step 2. Wait, okay. We came to believe in step 2. We used it to help us go through. We find our HB, learn how it should be, and shows us what we need to. Oh, that's I can't take the All right.
shows us what we need to
I'm
do.
missing the very last word, which has to. Oh, need to. Okay. So I'm gonna read it again.
Yeah, read it again.
We came to believe in the power of step 2. We used it to help us get through. We find our HP, learn how it should be, and shows us what else we need to do. No, what else needs to do.
Love
I got to
it.
work on it. See,
Yeah.
You can find a word because a lot of them
No,
rhyme
that's
with
great.
through and to.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that, and that's so cool that you're able to do that. Tell us a little bit about. I mean, you sent me this book that you recently wrote. Tell us a little bit about that. If somebody would like to, contact you, get in contact with you about limericks or this, how can they? Well, they can reach me through rico12pod@gmail.com. But how can they find a book?
They're on Amazon. And if you type in recovery limericks, I'm the one who comes up first, which I mean, that's amazing. That's because there aren't any other ones of me, but
how cool is that? So on Amazon, so I'll look it up on Amazon, put a link in the show notes of the podcast here. And but anybody else, look it up on Amazon, recovery limericks, and you'll find it. I love it. So I'm just going to read my favorite limerick that you wrote from this. And then we'll wrap up here in just a minute. This is Living Sober number 27, letting go of old ideas. So here's what I have here. Our ideas got us sat in this chair. They seemed sane, but buyer beware. We have to let go and hoe a new row. Actions taken, we now choose with care. I love this one, but tell us a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, you hear people who say that they achieved their chair in AA through a lot of we all came to AA with different stories, and so it kind of reminds me of take what you want and leave the rest. The sane but buyer beware. It's when you get sober, your life changes so much that you can't even think about how different it is. And our old ideas got us to be an addict. So we have to sit in the chair, and then we have to hoe a new row. We have to find out how we can fit back in to society. And I have a hard time letting go, just like everybody. And so we hold on to our old ideas, and then something happens and we're like, we knew we shouldn't have done that. I'll try it again. And that's something that is apropos about the end of this, is that I did really bad during the question and answer section. And I'm saying that because you still love me. Like, I can't make a mistake. Like, people are sitting listening to this going, oh my God, it happens to me. So that's why we do this. And that's why I wrote this book. I think about this book in like rehab centers, in the room where everybody hangs out, or for teenagers. I think it'd be really good for opening a conversation with parents. It gives them a common thing to focus on, so they aren't focusing on each other. I think I'm really proud of this book. And the last thing I'll say about liking humor better, if you have a job and your job is dealing with things that are sad, like a funeral director, you have to be sad a lot. So why not get a job where all you have to talk about is humor and sobriety? Because we're darn funny now. Not so funny when it was happening.
Yeah. Oh, I love this, Anna. Thank you so much for bringing some humor into this. And I do have to say, I have a friend who's a mortician, and he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met. So I'm glad he's able to
He
make
has
that
to be.
happen. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing speaker meeting.
Oh, wait.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Anna.
Okay. You can contact me at recoverylimericks@gmail.com.
All right, I will put that in the show notes also. Thank you. Recoverylimericks@gmail.com. You can
Mhm.
contact Anna directly. All
You
right,
can
if
make
anybody,
requests.
yeah, awesome. Love that. Okay, so if we've missed any questions, you have any others, please consider joining our WhatsApp community, and you can email me at rico12pod@gmail.com to do that. And if you haven't done so yet, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's a powerful way to work step 12 and share recovery with others. Next Friday, we're hearing from another first-time RICO 12 speaker, Andy H., whose topic will be A Recovered Life, a Room Without a Roof. And I look forward to hearing his share next week. You can stay updated with that. You can join our email list and get on and find out who's speaking and what their topics are and a little bit about them by sending an email to me at rico12pod@gmail.com. We'll get you there. So let's wrap up with a prayer. Anna wrote this prayer and sent it to me, and I will be reading this prayer to close us out with. Higher power, help me to focus on the present moment. May I find tranquility in the here and now. May my thoughts be clear and my mind be free from worry. Let my inner world be a place of strength, harmony, and balance. Let my determination be a beacon of hope and strength. May I find peace within myself and extend that peace to those around me. May I be resilient in the face of my trials and challenges. Help me to remain steadfast in my goals and aspirations. Grant me the resilience to endure. Help me rise above these difficulties and see me through every obstacle with grace. In moments of turmoil, may I be strong no matter what comes my way. May I always find reasons to be thankful even in the smallest moments. Help me to cultivate this spirit of gratitude. Let my heart be filled with appreciation for the beauty and kindness around me. May I recognize and cherish the blessings in my life, no matter how big or small. Thank you so much, Anna. Everybody, remember there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find God now. Keep coming back. And when you do, come all the way in, sit all the way down, smile. Let's laugh. We are not a glum lot. And let's trudge this road of happy destiny together. Work it. You are worth it.